Okay, we should get on with this then. I think this is our fifth? Jing's only our fifth session of the Perfect Hansa. To think we had 160 plus episodes of the Patrician 4 one. I have every reason to believe that this will be much, much shorter than the Patrician 4 Perfect Hansa, not least of all because the only thing you have to do in each of the cities is select the 3 industries and the unique building, and that's it. Outside of that, you're only managing trains and the rail lines, and I guess the warehouses. It's nothing at all like what we had in Patrician 4. Now, if you missed Patrician 4, and you think that this is really exciting streaming content, and you only wish there was more around, then Patrician 4 will put you to sleep for months on end. I think there's over 100 hours of content in that massive playlist of Patrician 4, where we did perfect the game. That was the perfect run of Patrician 4, where everybody got everything and grew as large as possible within the Hansa. The only caveat was that most of the people were naked because the production scales were not perfect. That is to say, every person consumed slightly more than they could produce. So to offset that, I said, that's alright, you just don't get to wear clothes. So we had a vast, naked, and very happy and productive Hansa that almost made too much money. Now here's hoping we can end up with a similar situation here in, well, Gross Germany. Where are we at right now? I have linked up South Germany with express lines. Those express lines are slightly being used for the distribution of goods as well, because I haven't set up dedicated freight yet. I do plan to. I in fact plan to do so today. Depends how much time we get out of this. And where we have right now maybe isn't the perfect place for starting that. Really, it would be the north, which would be perfect for starting, because there's so much flat land to get to work with. But I'm going to leave the north as it is, because it's fairly profitable. The cities are fairly large, although they could certainly be larger, and focus on the south. What I plan to do is probably just connect up a few bits of the express line and then get going with a dedicated freight line. And the areas that I've connected up in the south, I want to build them up with the basic RGOs. I want to supply them with wheat, with vegetables, with wood, with wool, things like that, just to get them puffed up and begin the foundation of the freight line that's going to run through our Hanseatic Empire. Planning-wise, oh man, last session was nothing but spreadsheets and planning. Today there should probably be a lot of gameplay instead of that, because plenty of people saw the last stream and contacted me with their own ideas on how it could be calculated. I was sent quite a few different spreadsheets, asked a few questions about how it all comes together. Now there are some key things I need to clean up from last session. Yeah, it would be last session. We were under a very mistaken assumption that for a city to get fulfillment for growth, let's find one that's actually growing. Here, you'll do. Essen. Essen, for example, if you ignore their demand for... Oh, we don't have to demand anything, ignore anything, because their grain and fruit demands are things that they demand anyway. So here's a list of everything a city demands. And in Essen's case, it's grain, vegetables, wood, sausages, pastries, sheep's wool. What does that make? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They demand 13 goods. Now, I was under the impression that if I wanted them to, say, have 50% fulfillment, I would have to provide them with half of those goods, which would be 6.5 or 7, but that is not the case. Unfortunately, fulfillment is based on the total demand of goods for the people, not for the businesses, though. They would demand a lot of grain and fruit for their pastries and their brandy. Brandy. So ignoring that. So they want 0.7 vegetables and 0.7 wood. That's fine. They demand a little bit more sausages. So if I miss the sausages, it's going to hit them proportionally more than missing out on the wood. And then there's things like beer. Turns out the Germans love beer. They have an enormous, voracious appetite for beer. I am as surprised and shocked as you are. Let's take our good friends in Elbing right now. They want 1.6 units of beer for everybody. 1 unit of beer is an entire trainload of it, and they want it every month. That's a lot of beer for these people to be drinking. So they want a lot more beer than they get milk, for example. They want more beer than grain. It is more important to the Germans that they can get drunk than be fed. So that means that when doing these calculations, we actually have to consider the total demand, not just the number of goods that there are. And to further complicate things, the larger a city grows, they have a multiplier on how much they want of each thing, depending on the size of the city. I believe it's something like per 40,000 people. I think, what is it? Per 40,000 people, the grain demand goes down by 5% or so. But, like, the beer demand goes up by 20%. Crazy. These Germans just love their goddamn beer. So, what do we make of that? Well, I throw into the trash a lot of the stuff that I thought I'd figured out from the spreadsheets before, and we bring up this spreadsheet. This is largely a culmination of what everybody put in, and these are the numbers that I'm deciding to run with. A lot of people came up with different estimates of the maximum size population city that we'd be able to support around here. With a little bit of leeway, I am settling on the number of 256,000. I wouldn't be too happy, not too happy. I would not be too disappointed if it's 10% more, 10% less, as long as it stabilizes around that area, because with the factor per 40k, there can be stuff in leeway. There's going to be a little bit of wastage that we see over here, extra supply. The biggest problem is going to be the extra supply of vegetables, because the only other way to make use of vegetables is in sauerkraut, and the problem with sauerkraut is that it uses the salt. And the other problem with salt is that just using it normally, every bit of salt is consumed. So the Germans don't even have any salt left over to preserve their sauerkraut, let alone their actual preserves. Those are going to be tiny. Things will be missed. Sadly, there'll be no cheese, no smoked ham, no cars, and no gingerbread. Because in the end, what matters is the raw amount of consumed materials that you can produce. So let's say you needed 2 things to make one other thing. You would never want to make that one other thing unless it was made from otherwise wastage. So if we could somehow turn vegetables into something else that they demand, even if it was made at a loss, we'd do it, because we have all these wasted vegetables. But because the only other thing it can make is sauerkraut, we don't do that because the salt is already being used here. So, what a shame. Yeah, the competition is already bought out and dead, King Danis. Honestly, we could just let the game run for the next 100 years and we would, in quotation marks, win, because we'd make all the money and nothing would get in our way. But that is only winning. We're here for perfection. What else is there to say? So, the important things are the ones in green here. These are goods that everybody gets. Everybody gets newspapers, salt, wool, fruit, beets, leather, grain, veggies, wood, paper, and sausages. Most of these are fairly simple goods. Newspapers are a little less simple because they're made from an intermediary good, so it's wood to paper to newspapers. A little heavy on the industry, but it puts those to use. It puts wood to use that we wouldn't otherwise really get much out of, because I think it's fairly one-to-one for newspapers. It's not so one-to-one for something like... Where's the furniture? Here's the furniture. Which, for what it's worth, we do put out. Not for every city, but for most of them. So what I'll be focusing on first is getting all of these to everywhere. That might be a little difficult because I need certain amounts of growth in cities before they start demanding certain things. So I will need to, regardless of these numbers, make sure... Oh, well, sausages and... Yeah, sausages are already there. Pastries are not, however. Not everybody gets a pastry in Germany. Very sad. I thought the survey stream was mercifully over, says Six Sock. No. This is just us laying the foundations. Don't you worry. This is something I'm largely going to use for reference. I want to know these numbers for what everybody gets. But we can safely ignore sauerkraut, gingerbread, cheese, smoked ham, and cars. Cars are the worst, by the way. The scales of production for cars are so incredibly wasteful. Every car needs one bit of steel. Okay, that's fine so far. But they also need tools. Ugh, that's rough. Oil is fine, though. In fact, oil is going to be wasted. There's no reason for us to ever get an oil industry because cars are the only thing that use it. And cars are so wasteful that we wouldn't even have a use for them. So sadly, no oil industry will be moving. There's no other use for oil whatsoever. If we go back to the game and we check for demand here, no city will ever demand oil unless they produce automobiles. There's probably a lot of money to be made in automobiles, a hell of a lot, because it uses intermediary goods like steel and tools, and it allows us to get the oil flowing. But money, after a certain point, is not going to be a concern. It's a concern right now. We've only got 2 million marks. Only 2 million? That doesn't seem right. Oh, forget that. We're massively in debt. So, yeah, we've got like negative 6 million marks. What a shame. I have a bunch of it locked up in stocks, but I'd be taking a big loss on that. I probably made a big mistake buying these stocks. They're all pretty much down. But it's kind of a way to bank on what we have here. Surely they'll go up through the roof when I start moving everything everywhere. Did you mean to switch to the game? I did mean to switch to the game. Whoops. What was I talking about? I was talking about how horrifically in debt I am. Here we go. And I was talking about how no city would ever want oil. There we go. Those are the two things. I had it switched on my screen, but not in OBS. Rookie mistake to make. Right, that's everything we need to look at the spreadsheet for unless something specific comes up. I will keep it on my screen so that I'll be able to look at who's getting what. So the next up is the planning that I have here. I painstakingly made this map, and we were looking at it before for where we're going to line things up. The blue line is the express line that we already have, which makes all these goods move around the south. And all the places that I have linked up right now are the places I plan on filling in with freight goods. I don't plan on doing anywhere else. The other cities to the north and the center are just going to chug away, making me generous amounts of money that will help me fund this. And then once this is fully loaded up, both with its express lines, which are already functional, but also, most importantly, getting the freight from the RGOs in the area, the resource gathering operations, then I will turn my attention back to what I've built up before, probably delete all of it, and then make the North Express line. This is the proposed North Express line. I want it to join up with the South in a few key areas, but otherwise I want it to be fairly... there's a word for what I'm trying to say, but it's not coming to me. I just largely want it to be one city to one city, rather than spiraling out like a like the spokes on a bicycle wheel, because that's just going to clog a lot of things at intersections, right? I want to try and avoid intersections where possible. Sometimes they fly off to the sides, like here, when needed. I'll zoom and enhance a bit on that. But really, most of my lines are just going to be from this city to this city, and then this city to this city, rather than having one line that goes here all the way down to here. It just seems wasteful. If I just do back and forth, then I'll get all the mail moving around. Because if, let's say we're over here... Oh, God, that's a testament to how large an image this is. Let's say we're over here in Danzig, and it has a passenger that wants to go down to... oh God, which one's which? Okay, well, let's take one we know, Ulm. Let's say they want to go to Ulm. They'll be just as happy going to here, then to here, then to here, then to here, here. They'll pay every step of the way, so there's no real downside in me just having them connected like that. As far as I'm aware, that is. I could be dead wrong. I've been wrong on things before. I may well be wrong on them again. Are they smart enough to do that for freight? Freight will be different. Freight will be sent to every single city with its own dedicated freight line. Which brings me to the red line that I've made here. This is the proposed southern freight line. So the idea is this red line, it's probably not going to be as straight as that, but maybe it will be. I would like to just cleave through the mountains rather than go around them. Very expensive, but it's probably worth the cost not to have my freight lines have to charge their way up mountainsides wherever possible. The point is, all the RGOs are meant to make their way onto that line, and there'll be warehouses punctuated along the line, which then spill off to the cities. So if I can get myself a little red paintbrush, is that about the size? That's a bit too thick, isn't it? Let's take our wheat industry here. So the wheat will have a little station here where it gets loaded up on, and then the wheat will follow its own line that goes in onto the main freightway, which maybe delivers it to a more central warehouse right here, which contains wheat amongst other things. Maybe it also has the milk coming in and the hops for whatever reason. And then from there, it's going to go out and make its way into each of the cities. So we have this main freight line. So for example, the wool also wants to come in. It goes onto the main line, ups a daisy, hits into the warehouse, and then gets distributed to the various cities. Fortunately, I have a lot of area for putting these extra lines down, but the main thing that I care about right now is having a main freight line, 4 lines wide. I hope that's going to be enough. If it's not, I don't even know. We're probably going to need multiple lines if that somehow isn't enough. The main freight line will have to be damn massive, it says Avenue. Yes, yes it will. I do worry that 4 lines won't be enough, but time will tell us if it is or is not. If it isn't, then I guess it wouldn't be too much just to have another parallel freight line and then segregate them. I could have something nice and simple if it becomes too much and say, like, this is the freight line for raw goods, and then the next one adjacent to it is only used for industrial goods. Something like that. We'll figure it out. For some reason chat wasn't on screen. I must have killed that when I was killing something else. That's okay. Back you come. So, that is the plan. Oh yeah, once that's done, I intend to bring out the main freight lines up along the north right here. This kind of makes me think that this freight line wouldn't be enough. Think of all the lines that have to come on and off of that. But the way I see it, I would have my warehouse around here. So people come off for the warehouse, and from the warehouse it goes to other places, rather than filling up the main freight line itself. We'll see. There's a very different batch of considerations to this game than there are in, say, Patrician 4. In Patrician 4, you didn't have to consider about the throughput whatsoever, because the boats would never collide with each other. If you wanted 100 boats doing the same route, you'd never have to worry about them hitting into each other, and they had a very set capacity. This, a bit more elasticated, I would dare to say. Right, that's just brought up to speed. It only took about 20 minutes. Now goes the drilling, so if things go weird again, then you know what's what. I thought a warehouse could only hold a few goods, says Stacks. Yes, a warehouse can hold up to 6 different types of goods. And, oh my god, that is so loud for me. Of the 6 different types of goods, they can hold up to 99 of each of those goods. So the warehouses can have quite a lot going for them. I don't hear the drilling, but your voice gets so muffled. Yeah, that's... Be glad you get the muffling and not the drilling, because holy smokes, that is so loud. Like it's inside my head. Right. There is one thing that I wanted to do on top of that, on top of everything else I'm doing, and that is to begin working on one of my tasks here, which is to transport 9,000 people from Danzig to Vienna. And for doing that, well, we've already got Danzig here, but I think I will set up... There's not a lot more that I need to connect up to get to Vienna. Hang on, where's Vienna again? It's right here. So as long as I connect this up, I should have everything I need. Wait, how are you planning the 1918 task? The Nuremberg city with the highest population? That should be very easy to do if we manage to get a carpet population across all of them, because then all I need is a promoter, and then the promoter will make that population larger. Although I could always just siphon off some materials for Nuremberg for a little bit, let that one grow, and we should be a-okay. That's a plan, at least. Right. I have plenty of money for something like this, so we maintenance station... Ooh, it's a bit more contourish here than expected. Could just have you here. No harm, no fuss. I like to have maintenance stations between every city now. It just feels like the right way to do it. So if I just connect you up, and ooh, okay, can we not have that then? I think I'd rather have all these earthworks than anything else. Or I'll bring you out a bit. No, seems like it's 7% elevation, however I cut it. Alright, just get rid of that and have it in as such. Anchor you down next to there, and away we go. Somebody said I was wasting my time by doing anchor points like that. Somebody in the YouTube comments. Maybe. But I like attaching it there. It gives me more a sense of following the lines and helping me keep it together in my own head. So make it like so, give them explicit signals. There, and there. Get rid of the name maintenance station, we don't need these on the map, it's just going to clutter everything. And then connect it up with Orlov. It's a little unfortunate, these contours where they are, but if I just shove you in there and drag you explicitly out a little bit, the incline is minimal and the costs are... Well, the costs aren't much of a problem for us anymore, but they are still something I should keep in mind until I'm dealing in more or less unlimited money. There will be a day for that, but I don't think that day is today. Get you all moved together like so. I'd still rather be in debt to the bank so I can activate all that money, no harm, no fuss. And whilst we're looking at you, I'm going to expand the station, largely because if anybody is fueling up here, I don't want it to be, not fueling up, if anybody is unloading or loading here, I don't want it to slow down any of my lines coming down to Vienna. We'll signal this up as well. Signals all day, every day. I am still regretful of choosing the 1-2-1-2 pattern here. I really think that throughput would be a lot better if it were 2-2, 1-1-1-1, or 1-1-2-2 rather. So both of these going in the same direction, both of these going in the same direction, but I just couldn't make it work in a simple manner for branching off from it. That's entirely on me. I should have figured out a better way to do it, but I could not. Where was it that really dawned on me? It was somewhere down here, as I recall. Pretty sure there was a grain farm that I just couldn't... yeah, something like this. If I wanted barb and flakes to feed in on both sides here with a 1-1-2-2 pattern, I just couldn't figure it out. This way works cleanly, but it also means there are going to be delays, I think. Quite a lot of delays, even. If they wanted to come out and turn over here, they'd come out, the train's going choo-choo, and then it has to wait here because I've got all the things coming through. Or if it does go through, it's going to cause a delay for the others coming in. I don't like it. I don't like lack of throughput. Not a problem right now, Jings. My lines are barely utilized at all. What utilization? 0, 0, 25, 25. Tiny. But someday they'll be a lot higher than that. Going to try and use the 2-2 method for freight? No, I don't think so. I think I should stick with something I can actually use, because I couldn't figure out a way to get the 2-2 on and off easily enough. I'd have to be using a lot of tunnels and bridges to make it work, and that I couldn't. Just needs lots of overs and unders for the short... Yeah, well, if I was playing on unlimited money mode, which I guess with this mode in a few hours, but we're not there just yet. Still, I got that all set up. What now? Well, what I'm doing is I'm going, hello Danzig, I need you to get a new train. It's going to be... I mean, the Sterling would be best since it's for express stuff. You do hit a nice speed and you don't consume much. Hey, why not? We could have our first real dedicated express line. I don't like doing this. I think it's a big waste to make a train go such a long distance. But there you are. You are passengers and mail only. I hope it chooses passengers over mail wherever possible. Maybe it would be better if I made it manual. And then I could say, in Danzig, I want you to prioritize passengers. Actually, you know what? Passengers and mail is probably fine as it is. Because I'll make a bunch of them. Passengers and mail only. Yeah, fine enough as it is. And I could clone it, but there's something I don't like about cloning. But I'll clone it anyway. And then I shall make another couple of them going the other way, so they'll be nicely staggered, hopefully. So another Sterling. By the way, how long is this journey from Vienna to Danzig? Ha! It's gonna take forever. Well, sucks to be them. Go and do that, eat your clones, and get on it. Remember to put in the restaurant. Oh, the one that encourages there to be more people that want to visit the city. Well, Vienna's too small for that. Too small to get its special thing, and I'm not building it up enough because I don't move around the pastries of the wheat enough. I'm sure I'll get on that eventually. Alright. I'd be as well unpausing at this point. It'd be faster to walk. Well, the time does flow 4 times faster on the 100 years mode, which is unfortunate. And on top of that, the condition and the consumption of things on the trains is ridiculous. You just keep getting spammed after a while, telling you that all your trains need more and more things. This is what I don't like about 1212. See, this guy is waiting forever just to get onto here. Actually, why is he waiting for so long? Did that one really take precedence? There we go. It just takes so long for them to get moving out. This is why I worry greatly about the 1212 signaling that I've done here. Just going to buy everyone that comes available and sort them out later on. Not enough traffic lights. I don't know, I put quite a lot of traffic lights on here. Or did I? Oh, where'd they all go? I guess that'll do. Maybe I messed something up when I split this off at some point. Is this sped up? Do the trains have magical acceleration? Magical acceleration? They do accelerate pretty quickly. This guy comes to a stop, and then poof, off he goes. We just have speedy trains. We'll have to accept it at that. Can the timescale be changed or modded? I don't know. I haven't really looked into that. Here we go. Here's an example. Low operate. Hold on. You are... Yeah, I remember reviewing you at some point. You actually don't have operational supplies, so there you go. You don't even have a maintenance building here, which is probably a problem for you. Well, might be a problem for you. I'll look into that later on. Quickly takes him 2 days to... Oh yeah, well that's another way to look at it. The time scaling does feel kind of weird on the 100 years mode. But it is what we have to work with, so I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I should lose a bit of sleep over Karlsruhe here. See, this is annoying. Don't tell me if you've got low operational supplies if you're actually going to go and get those operational supplies. It's just that these trains have enormous consumption and don't seem to get the speed. I feel like this was less of a problem when I was playing on single mode, so sometimes I do feel like the 4 times speed is actually causing 4 times speed of degradation and supply usage on trains, but I really am just talking here to make the money build up, because I'm going to need a lot of that money. Ooh, this would actually help. Reduces consumption of everything by 10%. You know what? I'm going to take that just to stop getting so bothered by being spammed by that. It kind of makes the sand and oil useless because they never run out of sand and oil because water always goes away by far the fastest. The maintenance stations will top up the train condition every time they get supplies. I've noticed spamming them reduces the amount of trains being serviced, the maintenance stations. Well, I put maintenance stations between every bit of distance on the new lines. I can't really afford to keep caring about the old lines. I've put them down as much as I can there, and I won't be looking at them again until I redo the whole network there. So they'll just have to live. Give me everybody. I'll assign them later on. Zurich grows. Zurich gets a lot of love. The only thing it doesn't really get are their veggies. Okay. I will admit this next part is going to have me... Well... You know when you have to do something and you're well aware that you do not have the capacity to do it very well? That's kind of how I'm feeling about how I'm going to be starting on this next part. I need to start building up my freight line, and I need to figure out where I'm going to put the warehouses, for what goods, and where they then spit off to. And to make matters even more disquieting for me, there's also a consideration. In fact, I'm going to pause and bring up the diagram for this one. There's a question of where they all go, because it's going to be a big waste if, let's say, pretty much all of the sugar beets were made down and around here. It'd be a big waste to think about carting them all the way up to here. That would be a real shame. Similarly, there's grain everywhere, so I need to think pretty well about, okay, how many is this going to supply? Should I have it that this grain farm only goes to much of these? I don't know. But that's where centralizing them in warehouses is going to help, because then I can just shove it all in the warehouse, and it's the warehouse's job to shove them out to the separate places here. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is focus over here. It's a really neat place to get them all sorted out with a nice central warehouse where I can shove the RGOs into, and then, well, you might be an RGO, but you're not what I'm looking at. Maybe vegetables are better. They all get stuck into here, after they, of course, go along the main line for it, and then from there, I can send it out to each of the different places, each of the different cities. Probably going to be a pain to do. Well, it's definitely going to be a pain to do, but I think the sooner I get to work on that, the more naturally it's going to start feeling after a while. It'll be tunnel galore, says Turin, most likely. I mean, these hills I don't really want to go over, I just want to cut through them. So, how do we start with this? Also, Barbon Flakes. I'm probably going to buy you out and upgrade you. At least buying up things is a lot cheaper for me now. I've got a lot of people that give me massive discounts on that. Who did I get available there? A promoter. Ooh. Right. This is what I was talking about. This is our way to make, say, not Frankfurt, Nuremberg the largest city. He can get a lot of citizens in any place for 6 months. That's good. By the way, how is Nuremberg? Also, where is Nuremberg? Come on, it's near the center here. There we go. Here's Nuremberg. Nowhere close to being the biggest one, so I can't exactly bring you up there, but if I brought more things into Nuremberg, I could make you the biggest one quite easily and quite early. Largest population in Nuremberg. It's a little tempting to get to work on that, because I need to do it eventually anyway. The trouble is, if I make them bigger than Danzig or so, they're going to demand a lot of goods that they definitely won't have access to. There's no fruit or clothes or sauerkraut or beer coming in here. So it would swiftly fall into decline, unfortunately. So that's a hard thing to justify. If anywhere, I'm going to put that promoter on Danzig so that more people will want to go from Danzig elsewhere. So over you go, man. This is consolitis right here. If you have a PC game and you're clicking on arrows to the side like this, you need to rethink your UI design. Danzig, make it big. Make it so. Because this is going to be a tough one to do no matter how you look at it. Still, bigger Danzig is, the more people are going to want to leave there and go elsewhere. I want to get a look at that Danzig to... Or is it going to be here? Where's the Danzig to Vienna line? Here you are. Here you are. Oh wow, there's only one passenger? This one's also only got one passenger. Okay, what about the Vienna to Danzig? Okay, it's not the most popular line that there's ever been, but the sooner I get it started, the more likely it is to actually work at some point. Okay, just wait until we need intermediate warehouses to beat the 999 carts limit. Well, I can put intermediary warehouses onto each of the cities, but I'd rather limit the amount of that I'm going to do. I might also want to make a dedicated freight station for them. Now, whether or not that's a terminal station, it'll be easier to tell differences there, but I don't know about the terminal station. I feel like that could be a problem if I have only a terminal for freight. Because it has to pop out the way everything comes in. Whereas if I had a regular large station for them, it could come out, it could come in and then out without choking each other up. Ooh, I don't know. I do not know. Just seems like it might be easier on me to always do terminal stations for freight. I don't know though, because it means it doesn't have to pop out the other end and cause a lot of problems. Train roundabouts? I probably won't be doing that for this run. Okay, hesitating a lot here because the first action is the hardest, isn't it? How would I start with this? Well, on the plus side, there's so much space here. If you can ignore the massive amount of contours that we see here, and I'm trying my hardest at that. I bought the game yesterday, by the way. Thanks, Mr. Influencer, says Kung Andreas, using the words he knows would hurt me the most. Where does one even begin with this? Where, oh, where? Well, I know that I want my main freight line to be traveling up here regardless. And I can just get everything to suck its way onto it and then spill off to go into warehouses. So I think it might be a good idea to start with, say, a maintenance station right here-ish. It's as far as it can go up. Let me double check what I've got on this thing for the plan. Yeah, that seems about right. About right. Alright, well, let's stop pussying about here. Down you go. That's the starting maintenance station. I'll get rid of that. I'll also do this whilst unpaused, because every moment that passes by, I'm making more and more money, which I'm going to need for this, and there's no particular... Oh god, the price. It hurts. It hurts rather a lot. And also bear in mind that I need to go past... I need to go past and under something like you. So let's say that that's going to be the start of this horrific main freight line. So in you come like so. At least we get a discount on making a second horrible line. I also have to branch you off. Now you could just go over it, but you shouldn't go over it. You should definitely be going under it. Ah, right, it doesn't want to connect you so close to the other one. So I'd have to have you come out like so. Huh, you want to go over. What if I don't want you to go over? Ah, that's because you've been told to go like that. That's not what I'm after. I want you going through like so. Yeah, probably better to go under like so. I can't help but think just how wrong is what I'm doing here. Probably very. Doubtlessly very expensive as well. Would it be possible to put a terminal station to grab several RGOs? Not sure what you mean by that. Please elaborate. Okay, so that's a general one going up and down. And it'll be nice and easy to get anything to swing onto that in either direction from these RGOs. So they should be able to, all of these just go whoop onto this line and go up and down to wherever they need to go. That's the basis of how this is going to hopefully go. Right, then there's you, Alpha Fur. I probably shouldn't let myself be limited by these roads being here, or these tracks being here whatsoever. I can, in fact, just get rid of them and have Alpha Fur take longer routes around here, rather than make my life more difficult. I wonder if there's any Railway Empire staff in the chat. Absolutely thrilled watching, says Chumro. Jake tried to do what they thought was impossible, or nobody else would be mad enough to try and make the perfect Hansa. I'm certain there are other people far better at this than me, who would be far better at putting it together, but I'm the one that's trying. Where did I say put this? Oh yes, in Danzig. Danzig can actually get another industry now because we've built it up to 90k, and I should probably be the one to build it, otherwise it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to buy it out from somebody. Then again, would it really? Buying industries... Oh boy, I could buy the an industry here for cheap. well, relatively cheap. Then again, the amount I'd get for destroying it probably wouldn't quite come together now, would it? If anything, I should make something that Danzig demands so that it can grow bigger, better, and faster. Fruit brandy, for example. They're right next to the fruit. I might as well give them the ability to make fruit brandy. This is my gift to you, Danzigers. Here you go. I'll even big it up. And at least I'll make a profit on everything that's pumped out. You know what? I should own this other industry. I should own everything. This is starting to get a little expensive, but whatever. Give it to me. I own Danzig. It's where we started. It makes sense that we should have it for ourselves. If you destroy a factory, you also have to pay. I'm pretty sure you get money back for destroying it. Oh my, it costs. I thought you got money back for it. Huh, how about that? I'm just too used to destroying things giving you money. Bad condition. Why? How? Oh, it's Vienna to Danzig, and of course I don't have places for them to stop and heal themselves. Oh, come on, your condition's fine. They're just such mopey buggers around here. Even if it costs a lot of money, won't be an issue. Yeah, money won't be an issue after a while. In fact, money isn't really an issue now as long as I keep the game moving. Which is what I'm trying to do right now. Essen continues to grow. Blackmail. Grain company will be sabotaged. I have a feeling this is going to be a very annoying spammy thing that I get a lot of. And I don't know what sabotaged even means in this context. Nothing's popping up saying grain industry foobar, so should I just ignore it for now? I don't know. Elkhorn's clearing. Tell you what, you get used a lot. I am going to expand this station. That was probably a mistake. Oh well, I'll leave it as B. And yes, if the microphone seems muffled right now, that's just RTX voice doing its magic. Because, oh man, if you could hear the drilling that I hear right now, would be horrible. Would be unbelievably horrible. But hey, a man's got a drill. I can respect that. Okay, where am I even thinking here? I want to continue to have this thing come down. He's thinking really hard, although thinking with all that drilling is getting a little difficult. I do want it to just come straight down here so that I can just plug all the RGOs in. So I guess it doesn't really matter about these mountains so much, just ignore them, plow through them, imagine that they aren't there. The Swedes are drilling for fresh herring. Cannot blame them. I could have you just go straight over here. Thinking about it, bridges aren't that expensive now, are they? But still pricier than I'd rather ever pay. Just coming down like this. RGOs that I can hook in. This is a nice clearing area, but there's a lot of places down here that we still need to get to. But if I did bring it down to about here and have it curve around, this seems like a reasonable enough-ish area, doesn't it? It's not low enough. I really need to get down to below that river and have it come over here. Starting to get silly money getting a railway down to there. The game automatically pauses when I clear this stuff away. Trellin Collective going to Cologne through this conveniently made pathway I've got here. I'll even make that larger so that more people can get through it. Imagine if the drillers are in chat seeing how long it takes Jake to reach his breaking point. I would stop long before breaking point. Although hopefully it would, man, it sounds like they're getting out an even bigger drill. You might not be too wrong with that. I'm just trying to think where to anchor it down for the southern point of this main freight line. I think it's going to be around here, though, which means I guess it could come down and around here for the freight, or just plow through the mountain. I mean, it has to go over the water or through the mountain. How would one even do that for the better? I'm overthinking it. That's my problem. The sooner I have my glorious freight set up for this, the better. So if I just bring you all the way down, one way or another, to over here. Oh, that's a million smackaroos just to get over here. What is it, going under then over? Hopefully it's not too much of an incline for you. And then if I follow this down here, never mind the inclines, and you need to go further south still, down to about there. Yeah, in the end I'm going to need to go over you, so I might as well bridge it or get under it or something it. Oh yeah, it doesn't like interacting with those at all now, does it? Hopefully that doesn't cause me too many problems down the line. And now what about you? What about you? That is sickeningly expensive. But it does get me down to probably the most southern point that I could ever want for this kind of thing. So let's just drop 3 million on that. Why not? This is the freight line for all freight lines. Oh geez, I had it bridging over as early as that point. Okay, I think I should be able to ignore attaching to any real point along here. Yeah, because it works just fine. And the savings I get from parallel lines make the second line really cheap, comparatively. How much is 3 million in 1850 money? Problem I made is that that's my only maintenance track along the way. I should probably definitely have one along here as well. It's a nice, easy point to have one on. So down this part goes. Oh, it dropped my point there. If I don't have maintenance points, then my trains are going to have to get supplies in such a manner that it slows everything else down. I do think maintenance stations are the way to go for this sort of thing. Like so, should suffice. That comes out like an S, but he says, there we go. Glorious. To a degree. Do it the Queen's way. Part of me thinks that maybe, just maybe, I should not make another 3 million line, but the whole point of this is to prepare myself. Also, I wonder if the bank will help me prepare myself. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Just give me that 8 million. Ka-ching! Now I've got all the money I need to make a whole lot more tracks. The wonderful thing about making these tracks... oh yeah, Christ, I can't have multiple bridging ones like that. You're a real pain sometimes, you know that? Actually, this is a huge pain because I can't put them underground as four ones together, which makes managing this whole thing a real pain. Means that I have to more or less make separate lines, which is not really what I'm looking to do. But if I've got to, I will. What's better? That's 700. Okay, yeah, I'll take 700,000, thanks. But the incline. Well, the incline is screw bar, however you look at it. I'll do it like so. And we can attach back up with you here. No harm, no fuss. What a horrible line. I am ruining Germany with this. It's alright though, it's the first of many. DDR loans rearing its ugly head. Well, it's healthy debt, so don't worry about it. I know I'm not. As long as people can branch onto and off of this main freight line, it should be fine. My worry is if it gets too busy. And heavens knows it could get too busy. I think over here is somewhere else that I would want a maintenance station. I'm doing myself a disfavor by not having these connect into maintenance stations. Is that off? It's probably off by just a little too much. Of course it is. And then I get this plinky plinky song that makes me think of Weird Al Yankovic. Although I forget the name of that song now, don't I? Often do. This Is the Life, I think it's called. Great musician, that man. Now we should be able to follow along here pretty swell until we get to somewhere like here. And then the bets are off. Oh, it really doesn't like being close. Doesn't like being close to this other track one bit. It hates tunnels being close by. Really hates them. It's kind of frustrating. Well, it's kind of very frustrating. Why would it not just let you do big tunnels next to each other? Certainly simplify matters. Now for this, I feel like you should come out here to reduce the problems with elevation. And if you come along to something like that. Well, I'm ever so glad that the bank gives me the money for this. There we go. Gotta be some German viewers going, oh no, mein beautiful Großdeutschland. Well, sorry, but the true beauty is in perfection. Which, it's a bit of a stretch to say this is going to be the bedrock of. You sure it isn't the bank bailiffs drilling into your apartment to get the money? No, I don't think they're doing a payday 2 on me here. Right, so if we can work by the assumption that this is going to be the main line that carries on down through here, the bottom, well, the leftmost kind of vertical line that we have here, that's going to be where all the goods feed onto and off of in order to travel the distances, hopefully. Now, how do I even go from there? Well, what I'd imagine is that we take Barb and Flakes as an example. And Barb and Flakes would, let's preemptively make it a larger station so that it can handle the throughput that I'm thinking of here. Oh goodness, you would come out of here and go straight into mountains? I'm not sure I like that one bit, Barb and Flakes. I mean, I want to feed you into here, but... Oh... Well, Barb and Flakes is in a very poor position for this. Might be better that I just have you arc around and come straight out of here. But then we're going to have some real difficulty. Probably have some real difficulty. Do you really want to make all that ridgy nonsense? It would be something like coming out onto you like so. Yeah. There's a lot to not like about this, but okay. And I'd also have to have you... Well, I'd want another one, of course, but also, of course, I couldn't have you... Oh, well, no, if I make this wide enough... Hey... Maybe I should have taken that guy that gives me a reduction in the price of tunnels after all. He knew what he was talking about. Bugger, man, this is rough and tough. Okay. So if you come out of that, now you should be able to make your way onto any of these. Well, now this is just pretty horrible. Okay, maybe it'll work. Maybe we can have some... There we go, optimism bias. So the grand thought here is that Barbon Flakes would produce all of the stuff that it needs, and it will come out of here and onto the main line. Thinking about it, Barbon Flakes wouldn't even have to be set up that way. I could have the... I could have rotated this to have it go... Well, whatever, that's something that could be changed in the future. Point is, Barbon Flakes, which really shouldn't have a maintenance building, but I guess it's not too bad a thing, comes out, and now it can go up and down the line here. And whenever it hits one of these maintenance stations, it can change the side of this that it goes onto. So... Nah, I should be fine. Jake sounds funny whenever his brain's getting drilled. I'll have to re-listen to that and see, or listen to what that sounds like. So Barbon Flakes will come off of there, and then it's just a question of where they go into. Looking at my map here, where are all the RGOs for wheat around here? Because you're now coming off into here, but there's also one right there. Oh, there's one further up as well, and there's one further down. So what I could do is consider having a big old warehouse for wheat around here that it goes down into. Consideration, to be sure. Well, it wouldn't just be for wheat, but right here seems like a fairly decent place to just branch it off to, because anything coming across that can go into it. So what would that look like? See, part of me is thinking when it goes off onto the... It gets collected in the warehouse, but when it then gets distributed back, I probably still want it to take this main line. So really it's just a collection point, and then it would still go up and down this main line, but feed off to other places. and then come back onto the main line, which makes me worry about how all this is going to spiral out. I really worry that there are going to be so many trains coming off and back onto the main line that it's going to become so chock full of trains that it's never actually going to get any real throughput, especially with the 1212. Sounds like you hop in a time machine back to 1996 with 32k dial-up. Yeah, that sounds a bit like what Baron was having when he had his window open when he was streaming. Strange that, when I saw that massively fat guy showing off RTX voice, it didn't seem like that was a problem at all, but I guess that's what happens when you buy into the advertising. Still, it cuts out the drilling, so I can at least be grateful for that. Recht. So let's assume that we've got a nice warehouse down here for the goodies then. So what's that going to be like? I guess I'd have a warehouse about here that they'd come into and off of. So what would that be like? What would that be like? I'll say it now, there will be too many trains, says Warcall, but that is part of the challenge. Yeah, it's part of the challenge that I'm trying to wrap my head around how to deal with. Doesn't help that I'm setting all this up in the rocky southern Germans here. Oh yeah, I did do a good job of masking the drill noise, because that drill was loud. What's this going to be? Part of the problem here is that I still have the Alpha Fur track getting in my way. I'm sorely tempted to just destroy it, because that's all it's doing right now, getting in my way. It means I wouldn't have to be going under it here either, although there's still elevation to probably care about. No, that I actually asked the company what's the limit on trains, and I got a message back saying 1600 shared between you and the AIs. So if it's you and 3 AIs, it's 400 each. But I've killed the AIs, so I assume mine is up to 1600 for myself. If it limits at 400 though, then this run is just dead. There's no way at all that one could make the kind of perfect hands I'm after with only 400 trains. I mean, Jings, we're nowhere near perfection. I'm at 231 of them in use. So, how do we peel off into a warehouse here? A warehouse of RGOs. Which I do worry is going to already start worrying about being too overstocked. Comes off of here into that, and then... I wonder... I'm starting to wonder if I even should have this segregated express line, because it just looks so useful for shoving our freight trains onto to get them in off of the warehouses. He's thinking hard. However you cut it, I do need this big warehouse that comes off of it all. Can't believe in such a big Germany I feel so tight on space. Some death probably had to go to Duke. Yeah, I wonder about that. It was nice of them to get back to me quickly. I had a couple questions. I forget. Oh, the other one was about copyright, so I got smacked with a copyright claim on one of the songs from the game. Gee, this is where my complete lack of dealing with trains really comes and slaps me in the physog. I'm just not familiar enough to know the best way to be handling this. So I want my RGOs to come off of the main freight line into a warehouse that's going to collect, let's say, grain and vegetables and wood for now. And then I want to redistribute them from that warehouse to all these different places. And again, there is an option to use the express line that I've already put in. It would then come off of the... The reason I'm thinking this is because, yes, this is going to be so tight with with goods flowing. If we came off of the warehouses into this line, it would probably stop feeling so bad. But then there'd be an issue of all of these. Unless I further added an additional station to every city where only the let's see, you would branch off of here into there, and this would only be used for loading and unloading freight, because that means anyone trying to go through can go through the existing station, and that the express goods will still have somewhere to go. And that might be useful. Might come with its own problems, though. He just doesn't know. He really doesn't know. Especially given the way that I've linked these up in terms of the express line here. So if I had my warehouse here for grain, and things were coming off the main line to deliver their grain into there, and then I say, okay, great, I need to redistribute the grain. How would I get it to here? I mean, I could go under and make my way into there, but there's also a whole lot of other lines that I'd need to do to get in there. Man. Where's Kalpa and his massive skills at building railway lines in Open Transport Tycoon when I need them? A roundabout, Jake? Yeah, roundabouts seem very hefty on the space usage. I'm also having a hard time figuring out in my head how the roundabouts help out with all that. A very hard time indeed. Well, things might start coming together if I actually build what I'm thinking about here. This stuff going under the land here is making it... Maybe this is a very bad place for a warehouse, given everything that's built up around it. Perhaps here would be a more sensible place for said warehouse. Because I should be able to branch on and off of these things easily enough. So let's say I had a warehouse here. It's an S-bend, so unfortunately both of these turns are the tightest. But anyway, anybody can come off onto this warehouse now. Wrong source, Jake. Not really. It goes... The signaling goes up and down both ways. So any grain coming in this way could actually switch its tracks over to that side, because it goes through this this maintenance place, which has signaling. So it could go doop-de-doop and doop-de-doop, and then follow along this railway line, and then go over here and make its way into the warehouse. So now this warehouse will collect an infinite amount, well, up to 99 grain. Then I need to do... Okay, and once it's done in the warehouse, it would probably just turn around and go back through that way. And it could also get, say, this grain coming in through this way. In fact, why not link that up right now? Just to pretend that we know what we're doing here. Large train station, med signaling control. No, not terminal station. Large one here. Just didn't look like it had signaling control there. So I'd need you to feed into that. No harm, no fuss. I could probably bring you in. No, I don't think you can feed onto bridges, can you? Well, let's not worry about that just yet. Let's slam you in here. I don't think it needs two coming in and off of it. Can we get you in like that, for example? We can. Swell. This is some advanced trolling, Jake, says Modo. I wish. I really wish it were. Oh, right, the map. Okay, right, that helps. That helps a lot. Thank you, H2RG, who actually had the thought to ping me and say that the map was in the way. There we go. Right. Ah, jings, now I don't know what I was talking about with the map in the way. No problem, I don't understand why no one else is saying it, says H2RG. They probably just wanted the map there, so you've probably ruined the day for quite a few people. Okay, so the warehouse is here, it branches on and off. And now I have this grain feeding into it. Also, this grain needs a good name on it, doesn't it? But I have to rebuild this at some point in the future. I'm gonna call you the Vino Paolo Well. Hey, I wasn't the blind one. I could see what was going on in the game just fine. Could have left a nice spreadsheet for us to stare at instead. Too bad for you. Right, so here's a warehouse, just named Warehouse 3. Terrible name. Wonder if I can give it a better one. And just call this Raw Goods Warehouse. Oh, wow. There's a terrible limitation on how much you could put into here. I guess I'd just call it the Raw Warehouse. Which is a shame. Patrician 4 had very lengthy names allowed. Small problem with how short I made this bit coming off is it's not really giving any space for a lot of trains coming on or off of the main line. But oh well. So grain will come in from those two and get into there, but then where does it go from this warehouse? How do I get that grain to all these other places? Is it something that I could have them spill off of here for? Oh boy, this is going to get so messy. So very messy. Well, do I have space for terminal station here? I do, I've got quite a bit of space for such a thing. So perhaps I could just crush half of Kobolitz here. And then I would, for example, do you actually even get any grain? You do, but I bet you're getting that by cart here from Vinapolo Well. You are, that's exactly what's happening. Okay, bear in mind this is for one good, and there are 27 or so goods. Yeah, 27. One good for one town. It's taking me this long. Scary stuff. Train platforms. Yeah, the towns just get crushed by train platforms. Sucks to be them, but it's all in the name of progress. Here's my worry though. If you come out to Kobolitz, how do I sort this out? Poor brain, my poor brain. Do the tightest one first. If you were going in like so, for example, just another casual million spent on railway lines that are honestly not going to be that much better than the existing... Wow, whatever it did, I completed a task. A rail network of at least 42,000 kilometers done to the T. Good job, us. Actually, I just think it stops counting. Yeah, it just stops counting. What a shame. Anyway, that was due for 1910. We got it done in 1851, 21 years from our start. Slight problem, as there often is I don't want Kobolitz to actually do any maintenance for the trains coming in. And I haven't left myself space for any kind of maintenance station here. I might just have to eat that fact. Shouldn't take too long to fix them up, although it does take a while for my poor trains. The difference between very good and perfect is immeasurable. Don't settle for less. I don't know, I feel like I've made a horrible mess here, and this is just to get grain going into to Koblenz. Damn it, I can't remember what Jake used to say when drowning a subpar air. I'm sure there's a lot of different things I've said for those poor suckers. So. The Vina Polo well and the Barbon Flakes. I should give them some locomotives to help move things along. Does that mean I have to tell them exactly what to do? No, it'll probably automatically load up with what's needed, right? Can't imagine why it wouldn't. Let's see what happens when I set you down there. Are you automatically going to load up with grain for it? Because if you do, that'll make my life a lot easier. Okay, there you are. Very slowly filling up on that grain. A little too slow for my liking. I have a feeling you're not going to have the best of times picking up speed here. Yeah, a respectable 60 kilometers per hour getting up there. All aboard the grain train here. Hey, I continue to make money, it's all good. Despite the millions I spent on tunneling for my tracks. The incline's killing the speed a bit, but that's because we still have fairly weak trains. And now it's, well, I don't know. I've actually lost my track of where I am on the map altogether, but we're doing something. Okay, here's the maintenance station. Don't know if we're going to stop here for anything or not. Well, we're certainly going to change the tracks that we're on. We need to shift over to this side in order to make our way over to the grain warehouse. But I think we're stopping here for supplies. Must be, we're slowing down a lot. No, we're just very slow. Okay. Sleeper has a problem with this specific Germanic flag. This game was made by Germans. I'm sure they know what they were thinking. Yeah, I don't know why it went to the rightmost one, only to go left again. That strikes me as something that's just going to cause other trains to have to slow down for it. All that grain. Being delivered to a warehouse. It doesn't really matter. Alright, now we branch off. And into our warehouse we go. We could have any platform we want. And we're choosing, the rightmost one. Yeah, maybe when it enters here it defaults to glorious rightmost drive like it shouldn't. And then bye-bye all those stacks of grain. And the rats of the warehouse can have a field day. And then off you trot. Excellent, so now the raw warehouse has got those 8 sacks of grain. So I should set up a similar thing for Vinapolo well. And that's going to do much the same thing. And I shall, of course, set up another train which goes from the warehouse to Koblenz. There we go. Now the problem is it's not really going to get any supplies along the way. Would you like to take over this tatty? That's a very cheap price for a tatty farm. I'll take it. It's barely made any money ever. Another farm. A farm near Stettin. Sure, I'll take it. And, oh, I think I lost the connectivity bonus for it. Either that or it never had one, I don't know. But hey, it's practically free for me to take over, and I don't think there's upkeep for it, so that's okay. Right. Danzig dwindles. It must have been done with its promotion, and now there are so many people that they demand too many things that I don't give them. They're not getting clocks or tools or smoked hams or furniture or porcelain, so down they go. That's all right. They will decline until their appetite goes down. But look at that enormous appetite for salt, although that's probably the sauerkraut industry largely speaking. Enormous appetite for gingerbread, which is a waste. Gingerbread is such a big waste of something to give to a city. I could stop you from dwindling if I got rid of this university. Yeah, I'm going to demolish that. Instead, you're going to enjoy yourself a museum. There you go. And that should bring your fulfillment up to 47%-ish. Should, he says. Well, it's going up at least, and that should stop the dwindling. There we go. Now, does it still go down from there, I wonder? No, not really. So, I've saved Danzig by destroying knowledge. Just continue to buy people that show up. Inventor, yes, always pay for innovation points. And I've let quite a few of them pile up, so what do I want to buy with them all? Check the track it's used set to use on entry. It'll use whichever one it wants because I've given it signaling controls. That gives you a little less control, but a whole lot less micro. Oh, I should definitely have this for all those tunnels I'm making. 8% reduction in tunnel costs. Definitely don't need experience for my people. Retroactively lowers the cost of all successful auctions by 5%. No, we need to be looking towards the future here, not the past. Innovation points up 5%. It actually made a difference. Better locos will come in time, so I'm not too much in a hurry over that. Right. I gotta say, I don't like one bit what I've built here, but that doesn't change the fact that I've built it. I should make sure that they get supplies here, because I don't think I built that in. Hopefully that doesn't slow things down too much. It's nowhere near as good as having a maintenance building en route. But you'd need a maintenance building between every single thing you put down, so I'd need one between this warehouse and every single place that it goes to. Which could be done by just always having it next to the warehouse. Could have it here, pretty much. So it always feeds in a better way. Kind of tempted, actually, to destroy this and set it up so that we have exactly that. Not warehouse with that, but maintenance. Oh yeah, but look at these. Look at this everything. It's not the best for it. But I could, for example, put it down here. So that everywhere the warehouse goes to service these cities, it has to go through that. It could be attempted. I just don't like putting supply things onto places like that. So how would I do it? Would it go into there? Possibly. Probably. And hey, now I get the cheaper tunnels. And then from there it would have to come out to here. Yeah, don't worry about that. Just reset. You're gonna need so many trains to supply that one warehouse. Yep, I will. Don't like that bend. I need something actually more like that, so that these other sides have an option to get out of there. There she goes. Alright, that works. That gives them a filling station and stops them knackering anything else going out to Cobalts. Just give me the stoker. I'm just buying them up. I'll assign them later on. There we go. He's still getting his grain. And that means you'll still get your grain. Goody, goody. Don't forget our signaling magic. Okay, good, that did work along the place. So that should work for one place getting some grain. But there's bigger questions coming out from this. Should I also feed you with other grain right now? I mean, we've got grain here. It would be very trivial to get grain onto the main freight line. This is what I was hoping for. I'm not sure if it's going to work out that way. But to have this freight line established, meaning that I can just hook any other RGO into it, and then wherever I put the warehouses down, I just tell them to go there and they'll follow that track. And once they are... once the goods are in said warehouses, it's just a case of peeling them out of the warehouses into the different locations. Now I wonder if that's the best way to do it, because it might seem like a bit of a waste to bring sugar beets all the way up there, only to bring them back. That works fine in Patrician, but on this, you're adding so much more congestion when it could just go over to there. Don't know. I just don't know. The same thing could be said for this grain, right? I could just pop the grain down into Zurich and nobody would have to care. But is that the better way to do it? I don't know. If everything just magically transported, wouldn't be such a problem, but they don't here. Oh, Christ, the contours. The endless fight with the contours. So what would I do? Would I bring you along here and feed you into there? Getting you connected in there might be a bit of a pain, but it could be done. How many cities would a single farm supply? Good question. What do my numbers tell me? A city at 256,000 population, which is what I'm aiming for, is going to have a need of 2.6 grain per month. So a trainload of grain every few months. The thing is, time passes very fast on this setting. What about the other nations? Are they accurate? Depends what you mean by accurate. Feels like a loaded question to me. We get you in there. And can we bring you back out? The maximum output of grain farm per week is let me check scales of production. 28 grain per month. So one grain farm will be able to supply the grain needs of quite a lot of cities. Quite a lot indeed. These already had their implicit signs, so I was easily able to signpost those up. This also needs a better name for this farm. Forget the Earhart Farm. We're going to call you the Leopardi Collective. And I'll just start up one single locomotive. There will doubtlessly be a need for many, many more of these, but just the one should suffice. That's what I worry about. That's a long way to take some grain, isn't it? A hell of a long way. And knowing that I could just cheekily pop it into Zurich here, and no one would have to be the wiser, leaves me thinking that is this hub-based system really for the better? That's a hard one to answer, though. Because there's no way that a single bunch of lines like this is going to be able to take all of those out. Ooh. Maybe micro hubs, suggests Baron. Maybe. That's a lot of hubs, though. It just seems like such a waste to take it up to that warehouse when it could just supply these. But you'd need something really complex if you're going to think that, okay, this supplies 7 places, this supplies 6 places, da-da-da-da-da. Supplying collections of 5 to 6 cities. Yeah. The more I'm glad I'm only doing this for one good, but the more that I stick my grain into one place here, the more I'm thinking it's a bad idea. You mean short hops? Short hops. Maybe a supply network separate from the rest. Yeah. What I could have is another freight line that runs parallel to my express line, but jumps into it whenever it needs to supply that city. Because I am really having a pain understanding how this little hub thing that I've made. Bearing in mind, I have built one warehouse to supply one place with grain, and I'm already thinking this ain't gonna work in a big scale. But what if... yeah, what if there was just another parallel line running next to the express line that just siphoned off into a separate station to supply it. So you would... oh, you're a hard one to... oh, I put you on the wrong side, haven't I? No, you could go into there. So I'd have a track that would just run parallel to it, da-da-da-da-da. So any train, you know, I'm taking pigs from here over to there, and it's just going along that line, and it'll bypass a city. But then someone that does need to go into the city goes, oh, no, I'm stopping in here, unloading my grain, and then going back out towards the party collective. You can't really design your distribution network without knowing where the high volume factories go. Quite. Shared stations, that sounds like a recipe for overloading. There's a lot of recipes for problems here. Something else I think I would do is take Zurich, if Zurich were to be one of my dedicated pastry places. It would need its own warehouse which deals in grain and pastries, and let's say it's dealt with paper as well, also wood and paper, and then if it also made newspaper, and that would all be dealt with the warehouse here. You could run warehouses along this line then. Geez, this is This is racking my brain something fierce. It's one thing to know how much of everything you need in each place, but getting it there... I have to admit, says Von Chubb, I expected the endgame to be a bit too straightforward, but boy was I wrong. I am struggling to imagine in my head how this comes together. Have you verified if trains transport materials to a destination that it's already receiving? No, I don't know if it considers that there are trains already en route or not. For example, Zurich wants 8 bags of grain. There's already a train en route with 8 bags of grain. Will it stock another batch of 8 bags from another train? I don't know if it takes into account the one that's already en route. I assume that it does, though. It would be straightforward, but Jake happens, says Modo. Shut your trap, Modo. I'm trying here. Evidently not hard enough. I think this is why we use more roads rather than trains nowadays. I don't think that's the reason. Can be sidestepped in multiple destination warehouses or intermediary warehouses that do bucket brigade. Bucket brigade? I'm actually beyond understanding what you mean there. He's trying to think about it, but it's failing. How would that look anyway if we were looking at this? Let's say I got rid of my freight network idea there. Would that mean something like... That's not what I want. That's not what I want at all. And that's... Wait, what is even that? Away you go. Would that be a freight line that comes along parallel here? What's even the point of having it specifically parallel to this, though, I wonder? And I don't like it because the grain doesn't distribute nicely. So this place produces 28 grain per month when maxed out. And I mean, that's going to be enough for you, and for you, and for you, and for you, and for you. It's going to be a case for quite a lot of people, but then there's going to be some left over. And then it's going to be a little dodgy if it brings it to there, and you also bring it to there. There's definitely going to be some mismatch going on there with some spoilage. And that leaves me... That's exactly why I wanted to hub them. Because if they all go into a separate hub... Choof. Choof. And then from the hub, it splits off to places. There's not going to be that wastage. Because it's all coming in from the centrally amassed amount of it. But the logistics behind this, and this is just me talking about grain, there's a lot of other goods here. This is killing me. Can't you run cargo train through multiple cities? Yes, but I don't see that being a worthwhile endeavor. Because a cargo train only holds 8 units of something, and it takes a lot of time to cover distance on this map, especially since time passes 4 times faster on this mode. If there's excess, throw it into a warehouse and hub that instead. Oh god, that's complex. I'm having a really hard time to think how to sort this out. Can't you just hire the poor to haul the grain across them gap tier others? No, the whole point is that we're meant to be using railways to solve our problems in this game. Man, the Hansa really had this one easier to puzzle out. One warehouse takes in only 6 goods. Even if you bring 4 trains per good, that's 24 grains incoming to a warehouse. You could use the main freight line to supply the towns. Could. I could. And setting up the express line was so nice and simple compared to the idea of hauling around this freight. How about making lines of city warehouses that pass goods amongst themselves? So I assume what you mean is that we have a line that goes from warehouse to warehouse and every city gets itself a warehouse. Might not be the worst idea. Let me think about that. So I'd have a warehouse for Zurich, for example, and a warehouse here for Basle, and a warehouse here in Freiburg, for example. And let's say they're all connected up, and I'm just shoving all the wheat into here, and that would force the wheat to go to these other places as well. Kind of cute until you start thinking, well, great, except they want a lot of different goods, a ton of them. Now, that could be mitigated by the idea that each city is only really going to get access to about, let's say about 16 goods tops, which means 4 warehouses, but that's still 4 warehouses per city. Think of it like veins branching from an artery. You'll get more volume for a small, short span of track until the trains towards towns branch off onto a 2-way line. Trying to think of it, but this is not coming easy to my fragile little mind. Again, not helped by the fact that I'm trying to plan this down in Mountain Town here. Jinx, and somebody said they thought the German map looks flat. Well, it's certainly flatter and easier to think of up here. But it doesn't change the fact that I would eventually have to deal with this anyway. Maybe you should test it on an easier flat terrain. Maybe, but as I said, it does need to work on this eventually as well. And this stuff already has my money-making but hideous setup already. This does look like it would be a lot easier to suss out with so much large flat area to build this stuff around. How's the Vienna to Danzig line doing? Let's see, we need to do 9,000 people Danzig to Vienna, and we've done 25, but fortunately we have another 40 odd years to get that done on. Hopefully during that time Danzig has actually grown quite nice and large. It can't be said the same for Vienna though. Well, Vienna's actually growing. So we're doing all right there. If I had another promoter, I would throw them on Vienna and have Vienna get nice and large. Even give it another thing so it can continue to maintain a decent size. Jake has blobbed out since my last watch. Yeah, but now we're facing overextension. I cannot figure out how to have a good freight line. It seems so easy, right? On paper it just seems so simple to me, but in practice it's not coming together. So my grand line of just having a main freight line that branches off into cities just doesn't seem to be so easy. Because my idea would be get all your grain into one area. This would be like the South German grain hub here. The grain goes towards the hub, and then it goes out to different cities. And that works amazingly well in Patrician 4, because you don't need to consider how many ships go into dock at any one time, for example. But here you do. drawing straight lines on maps is a bad British practice. Well, there was no point in trying to consider following the contours here. That's not the point of this map. Don't get it. I just don't get it. And again, I have an existing express line that is quite good. I'll go so far as to say that the... Wait, is that a name on my map? No, away you go. I will go so far as to say my existing line is good. Unfortunately, it's good for handling this relatively small scale of utilization. The sheer amount of goods that I'd have to move onto all these places would crush what I have here. Really don't like being reminded about lack of operational supplies. You're going in to get your supplies right now. Ah, that's the good old... Oh no, that's Vienna to Graz, not Vienna to Danzig. Drink up the water, get your fixin'. You could have hubs of 4 warehouses from which you'd be supplying the cities around, shuffling goods between the warehouses. You mean every city would have 4 warehouses? I'm not even sure all of them could get that. So let's take the most extreme example I have. If I can tell which direction I'm looking at the map here. Ah yes, I know where I am now. Here we go. Innsbruck. Might be able to squeeze in 4 warehouses here. It just seems like a pretty grim solution to have 4 warehouses for all cities, let alone if it would even work. You'd need to kick your signaling station habit. Oh, say it ain't so. Big warehouse is definitely smaller, but I like my signaling stations. They make it just so much easier to get things in and out. Signaling is a major limit, yeah. You should consider not having any passenger trains in the future, then you can use the express lines for freight too. I am considering doing that down the line. Right now though, it does help make me plenty of money. And if nothing else, it does ensure that everywhere is linked up. This express line is being used for freight right now anyway. For example, the pastries are coming out of, what do you call it? Saarbrücken, to being given to Koblenz here. Right, I'm gonna have to draw a line under this today and consider this deeply. How in God's earth do I draw up a system here that's going to work throughout the whole Hansa for distribution? So I'll probably load up the game in free mode in my spare time and try to plot something here that works. We have the numbers. Heavens knows we have the numbers here for how much of everything needs to go around. But the question of actually how to get it around evades me right now. See, I've got a really nice thing that works up here with Flensburg, Hamburg, and Schwerin. It works very well. It's brought them up to respectable sizes, 76k, 83k. If I fed more in, these places could get huge, but not perfect huge, and perfect is what I'm after. So... It might be in my benefit to actually break all of the map down into segregated areas or segregated clumps of cities, and then make sure that that clump produces everything that they need, and kind of have a not a spiraling, but a spoked hub in the middle that gives them everything they need. This would be a great area for it, for example. But then I'd need to balance out the numbers further still. I don't know. I'm going to give this one quite a bit of thought before I come back to it. Thankfully there's free mode for doing exactly that. I was thinking more along the lines of a hub of 4 warehouses which branch off to cities using little veins, but merging those 8 warehouse lines into smaller veins sounds like a pain. Yeah, especially when you can't have bridges or mountain passes branch together at all. So you can have these go out to infinity and beyond, I think, just simple straight lines like so. So I mean, this thing can come out as many times as we want. But the moment that they have to go into a mountain like so, you cannot have them linked together. And that makes having really wide ones through mountainous Germany here a real pain to deal with. But it is a challenge. It is a challenge that shall be defeated some way, somehow. I just don't feel I have the experience to do it just yet. I will put my mind to this. If you yourself have any great ideas on how this could be connected together, preferably with diagram, then feel free to show me that, because I could do with some inspiration on this. But for now, I'll take some time to just figure it out. That's a shame. I was hoping to get a lot more done today, but clearly, figuring out a freight line. How do I rate? It's the ultimate question, isn't it? Well, we'll get it figured out, but until I'm back with more of this, it's going to have to be a cheers from me and a cheerio.